Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Trisha Nurlani Regina. I am a communication science student at Muhammadiyah University, Yogyakarta. I am a participant in the PR research course. Today, I will present about communication audit. So the first is the definition of communication audit. Deep and comprehensive study of the implementation of organizational communication systems that have the objective of increasing organizational effectiveness. A complete analysis of the internal communication system of an organization to determine whether the objective of the communication network are achieved, and a conceptual and methodological structure used for examining communication process in organization. Why it is important? The first is to know whether communication programs are working well. The second is to diagnose current or potential problems related to communications. The third is to conduct an evaluation of new policies and communication practice that happen. So the purpose of communication audit is, the first is to know who they are talking to know who they should be talking to know what issues people are talking about, to know from which sources most people get their information, to know whether information reach people through the media, face-to-face discussion with managers, internal publication, or other communication channels, and to know the impact of all this on working relationship. Quoting from Andre Harjana, a communication audit is needed to, the first is find out whether the communication program is running well. The second is making a diagnosis about problems that occur or have the potential and opportunities that may be faced. The third is evaluate new policies or communication practice that occur. The fourth is check the relationship between communication and other operational actions. The fifth is arrange a communication activity schedule. The sixth is establish an appeal pack. Seven is measure progress and development by comparing with the appeal pack. And the last is to develop or restructure communication function. And last is build a foundation and background to develop new communication policies and program. Okay, the key issues in communication audit. The first is the amount of information underload or overload for major topics, sources, and channels of communication. The second is the quality of information communicated between various sources. The third is communication relations, including interpersonal trust, supportiveness, sociability, and job satisfaction. The first is operational communication networks, including for rumors, social, and job-related message, and how they compare with formal networks. The fifth is bottlenecks and gatekeepers of information. The sixth is positive and negative communication experiences. And the last is individual, group, and organizational patterns of actual communication behaviors related to sources, channels, topics, length, and quality of interaction. Okay, the next is the data collection for network analysis. The first is sociometric questioning. When researchers use sociometric question, respondents are asked to indicate their frequency of contact with other members of the organization. In some cases, the communication network is mapped based on a single question, as is the case in the International Communication Association, or ICA, network analysis instrument where respondents are asked to react to the statement during a typical workday. I usually communicate about work-related matters with the following people through the following channels. And in this way, respondents describe the information exchange relationship around them. The result is called an ego-centered network. Another opinion is to use more than just one overall sociometric question and to formulate a series of more specific questions that together map the network of information exchange within an organization. Sociometric question can take many forms. Data may be collected by means of questionnaires or during interview session face-to-face or by telephone. Respondents may be asked to freely recall all of their network contacts or fill out a roster containing the names of all of their network contacts, or fill out a roster containing the names of all their college recognition. Different answering scales may be used, ranging from drawing a line, the longer the line, the more frequent the contact, to answering on predefined scales relating to frequency of contact, often, sometimes, never, or having respondent indicate how often they meet each other member. Respondent may be asked to name a fixed number of network contacts, or they may be allowed to name as many contacts as they can recall. Sociometric questions can cover different time frames, such as network contacts during a typical working day or interaction during the past week, month, or even year. Finally, different aspects of the relationship may be examined, such as the strength, duration, quality, or importance of the relationships. Sociometric questions usually result in network configuration that represent the relatively stable patterns of communication within the organization. Analysis of the data may reveal groups and communication-related roles may be exposed, such as network stars, opinion leaders, liaisons, bridge, gatekeepers, and isolate. For a description of these roles, see the analysis of network section. Okay, the next is observation. Observation is research can take many different forms. Research may participate in the work process during the period of observation, or they may watch employees from a distance as they perform their work duties. Employees may be informed about the aims and scope of the research or overt observation, or they may be left unaware of the fact that they and their interaction are being studied or covert observation. Depending on the research question, there are many possible variations of this technique. However, usually the respondents are given a folder presenting an imaginary problem. They are then asked to send this folder to a predefined target person chosen by the research. If the respondent doesn't personally know this target person, he or she is asked to send the folder to someone whom they think is more likely to know the target person. Employees who receive the folder are asked to fill out a questionnaire covering several personal characteristics as well as characteristics of the person to whom they send the folder. This question will vary depending on the research question of the study. Respondent may, for example, be asked to name the coworker job position, describe the relationship, or explain exactly why they gave the folder to this particular college. Okay, the next is small world technique. Essentially, the small world technique focuses on the nature of the communication lines between employees. Is there an immediate relationship, or are they connected to each other by one or more colleagues? As such, the technique sheds light on the degrees of separation and on the path length between employees or departments. While it has not been widely used in the context of a communication audit, it seems a useful approach for studying the flow of message within an organization. The small work technique seems mainly suitable for uncovering communication-related roles in an organization, such as sociometric stars to gatekeepers. Employees who are frequently asked to forward the message to the target person may be seen as central to that communication network, or may even be gatekeeper in the communication system as a whole. By analyzing the route the folder takes, it becomes clear how the real and informal communication system function, in contrast to the organization formal communication system. A unique feature of the small world technique is It is ability to map bottom-up communication routes in the organization. For example, the number of links between production line employees and top management can be studied, indicating how effective internal communication lines are, how effective employees are in finding their way in the organization. Okay, next. The next is residual analysis. A final technique for studying communication relationship in organization is the analysis of archival data. Three types of archival data may serve as the input for a network analysis: internal mail records, phone records, and email exchange. All three make it possible to identify the specific actors involved. In the case of mail and email, it is even possible to distinguish between sender and receiver, date and time of the message exchange, in some cases, the topic of the message. The method is restricted to some specific types of mediated communication. Communication in face-to-face situation is neglected. It can be maintained that the method yields insight into the communication patterns regarding the particular media, but it seems questionable whether such findings may be generalized to overall communication pattern. Given this limitation, it doesn't seem justified to draw inferences about subgroups within the organization or communication roles of employees on the basis of archival network data. With respect to the reliability of this type of data, there are few concerns. Since data can be gathered unobtrusively, many reliability threats can be rolled out. Data may be gathered during a longer period of time or across several time intervals. However, when the content of the message exchange is taken into account, there may be problems regarding intercoder reliability. The reliability consideration about archival data resemble those described under observation. On the one hand, archival data do not depend on employee self-reports, which rules out the possibility of socially desirable answers or misinterpretation of the question asked. On the other hand, when employees are informed about the goal of the study, there is a change of reactivity. They may change their behavior to what they think is desirable. The major concern regarding the feasibility of this type of data collection is the issue of privacy. This is even more important when the content of the message is also analyzed. Second, when data are collected during longer periods of time or across more time intervals, the amount of data collected may become considerable and data management can become a problem. On the positive side, this type of data collection doesn't place a high burden on employees and is therefore very feasible in practice. Okay, the last is the analysis of network data. A network analysis can thus result in a huge amount of data and entangled network configuration, especially when the organization has many employees. To reduce the complex data resulting from network analysis, network scholars have developed a range of measures that help describe the relationship and pattern of relationship among network members. Examining this measure can help us evaluate the network data. Three different types of measure can be identified. First of all, there are measures that describe the relationship between actors in a network. For example, the frequency of contact between network members, the strength of a relationship, its multiplexity, the extent to which actors have more than just one type of relationship with each other, or the symmetry of a relationship, the extent to which both actors acknowledge the relationship. Auditors might find it useful to learn about the strength of relationship in an organization or even their multiplexity. That's all from me. Thank you for attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.